Now, something else that you have to think about is that PSSR is like DLSS. When DLSS first come out, it had problems. When FSR first come out, there was problems. So PSSR will get better eventually as well. Um, but what you just mentioned, the reason that they said they made this machine is because 75% of people were choosing performance over quality, and they were trying to merge those two things. Well, the issue is that the box isn't as capable as it should be to achieve that goal, if that was their goal. What you are getting high settings, you are getting better textures, you are getting the PSSR. Older games, if they're going to be there's a thing in the settings that you can turn on boost mode that will improve those a little bit, but old games should run better on newer hardware. But I think the overall walk away from is that you're not going to get necessarily a constant 60 from some titles still. They wanted to merge those two, but when you add in the ray tracing and then you add in the high settings with the other textures and stuff, basically you're eating up all that headroom you just gained. You're eating it all up. That's why PSSR is supposed to be so important, because it can take less and do more with it as in resolution goes. But we'll see how it all shakes out. A whole lot of people are very happy with their purchase. A whole lot of people are wishing that it was more powerful. Like, my only issue with the PS5 Pro was that it's getting very close to the PC price, and people buy into marketing. I can't say this enough. Okay, there's a guy on YouTube running around talking, and he's talking about marketing. He doesn't want to know the tech. He doesn't want to know how it actually works or how the performance is supposed to work compared to what it is doing. Like, he doesn't want to know. He wants to discuss marketing. Well, marketing is bullshit. We can still be talking about blast processing on the Sega Genesis that it never had, but we still talked about it at the time. But so all right, let me circle back all the way around. For people that are bought into the PlayStation ecosystem, this is a better system. It is. It is. It will play games better. But when you crank up the ray tracing and you put those settings to high, you are eating up that headroom in the resources. So I don't know, Maker. What do you think? Dorgon, sorry.
Oh, well, I mean, I was
We'll
just gonna
throw it
say
to
that.
we'll throw it to Maker, and then we'll go to Dorgon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the big thing is that it's only like a 10% boost on the CPU, and I think in the Digital Founder video they said that some CPUs for PC have, because you're using the same CPU, it's just overclocked by like 10% on the PlayStation. So newer CPUs with the PC are going to be better. And so games that utilize CPU they're CPU intensive, like those big open worlds with a lot of NPCs and actions going on. All that computing power, it's constrained, and so that's why you're seeing, like in their video, they showed Baldur's Gate 3 and Act 3 with all the NPCs in the city. It was around like 30 to 45 frames per second on the PS5 Pro. So expect similar drops whenever you see some other big open world games.
Now, one thing that this does have is, which they're introducing into consoles. One, they're introducing PSSR, and that stands for PlayStation Super Resolution. And this is a new upscaling AI technology, and it is similar to NVIDIA's DLSS technology. And this is the first console that's introducing AI upscaling. So, being similar to NVIDIA's DLSS, I don't think I'm within the realm of crazy to think that we were going to get games locked at 60 FPS. They were saying performance and quality. We're going to merge them together and you're going to get a great experience. It would have moved the needle for me if they would have shown off that we're going to get quality mode at 60 FPS across the board. However, I just don't think they're accomplishing that now. However, there's still room in the future, I believe, that they can update the PSSR over time to be able to achieve what these gamers want. Dorgon, do you have any comments, thoughts on the PSSR, PS5 Pro? Do you think that consumers should be okay with not getting the 60 FPS that they're demanding for when they're picking performance mode over quality? Or do you think, let me know what you think.
What you're seeing across the board, according to every review I've managed to get my hands on, every technical deep dive I've managed to read or view, whatever the case may be, you're roughly getting a 30% increase in graphical fidelity whilst running on performance mode. In some games, like, say, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was basically running at sub HD to do 60 frames per second, it now looks like the game you want it to look like whilst running at a near locked 60 frames per second. Games like Elden Ring, games like Baldur's Gate 3, these do not yet have the patches available for the PS5 Pro optimized version. And that's what you've got to remember here, that some of these games where you're still seeing drops aren't fully optimized for the new system yet. So they're not taking advantage of that additional horsepower. And they're still getting more frames and better resolution in these areas than the base PS5. It's an undeniable upgrade. You cannot deny that. You look at the stats, you look at the figures, you even just look at the side-by-side comparisons. Everything looks and runs better on the PlayStation 5 Pro. My challenge with it, and it's still basically the same challenge as when this thing was announced, is this is meant to be an enthusiast's device. And you ask 80 to 90% of enthusiasts worldwide what they want from an enthusiast device: play my back catalog, make sure that I can protect my consumer rights with physical games, stand it upright as I have done previously, and get the full Pro experience in a Pro console. So there's still these additional surcharges to use that enthusiast's device as they want to do it. And Sony know this, because every single post I've seen of a consumer going out and buying this console have also bought the disk drive, have also bought the vertical stand, have also bought the Edge controller. So here in the UK, that's £1,050. Now, we don't have to add tax on to our prices. What we see, what is quoted, that's with the tax already included. So we are forking over £1,050 to get the full Pro experience without any games. It's very, very expensive, but it's an undeniable upgrade, and it's doing exactly what they said it would do. So, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. There are people who will jump at it immediately. I'm not going to. I'm not getting a terrible experience from my launch day PlayStation 5. It still outputs 4K. It still outputs 60 frames per second. I've already got that upgrade super sampling from my TV. I've got a setup that basically does what the Pro does already. But there's a lot of people out there, I know yourself included, who don't get those sort of upgrades from the monitor that they're going through, from the television that they're going through. So having that horsepower on hand in the console itself gives them that better experience no matter what they're plugged into. So yeah, very situational, very individual. I just think it's doing what it says on the tin.
I did want to correct something. There were performance boosts in the games, but they said it was in line with the PS5 Pro specs. And I believe Baldur's Gate 3 is PS5 Pro enhanced as well.
Is Cyberpunk PS5 Pro enhanced?
I'm not sure about that title.
It'd be
Will be, I think,
interesting.
the patch is next week.
Yeah,
Baldur's Gate 3 is now.
When did the patches go live? Because these guys would have been testing them right before even the launch date of the PS5 Pro.
They were testing before the patches. Most of them went live launch day, which was yesterday.
Correct.
If
So the
patches...
Baldur's Gate 3 information that is in this video is probably outdated now.
But we were getting notes from games being PS5 Pro enhanced in October on the PlayStation Store.
Most likely they did have an early build, yeah.
So, yeah, it's hard to say. And this is the thing with AI upscaling technology, right? They can update it from the Sony headquarters up in space. So they can beam down the technology to make it 60 FPS and hold it. I still am holding out faith that PS5 Pro will be even better with AI technology the next year, a year after release, because the technology will be that much smarter. But that's just my thinking. The other thing I wanted to talk about is dedicated operating DDR. SPG, why doesn't the CPU of today's age for gaming computer PC advocates have this dedicated CPU operating system drive. Can you go over that and educate me a bit? Because PlayStation has a dedicated RAM for their operating system on this
Yeah.
PS5 Pro, from what I understand.
No, they do, but it's not a big jump or a leap or a thinking outside the box. Really, all it is just freeing up the operating system from any of the resources that are actually running the game. Now, how much does that help? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much overhead the Sony operating system actually is. I know Windows is a pig. It'll gobble up all kinds of resources if you let it. But all they did was they added 2 gigs of DDR5 so that they could free up a little headroom from whatever the operating system takes. PCs, see, PCs already do this. Basically, they don't have a shared RAM pool necessarily. They have a GPU RAM, they have the CPU or the the motherboard RAM and stuff. And this is basically going about in the same route so that they can take headroom off of the system. Now, my personal opinion and question is what happens if you put this on the PS5 base model? How much improvement could you see in FPS or whatever by doing that? There's obviously a benefit to it, or it wouldn't be on the PS5 Pro. So I'm wondering how much headroom is actually gained by not having to use the same RAM that's running the game. So it's interesting. I don't know what the answer is to that necessarily. How much headroom it actually relieves.
Mobile phones are anything to go by because they're also a unified system on a chip, which is what consoles run. So it's not like PC where you've got all these different brain boxes talking to one another. It all runs off this one chip, and it does a little bit of everything. So when you divide things up and separate something off from that chip, it frees up quite a lot of headroom for, in the console's case, just doing the gaming. On the mobile side of things, when you take the operating system and put it on its own dedicated RAM, it just makes the thing so efficient. It sips less power. It provides access to your operating system that much quicker. So flying around, getting into new apps, all that sort of stuff. So I imagine they've taken a lot of lessons from their partnership with Qualcomm over on the mobile division side of things and learned that when you've got something like this, especially a single purpose device, moving the operating system onto dedicated RAM, it just gives you more overhead in terms of development power to do with when developing games. What that percentage comes to, it's anywhere from like 5 to 25% in mobile. I imagine it's probably similar on PlayStation 5, but it's just a little extra bit again, and it's probably where that 10% CPU uplift has come from.
Well, that is undeniable. Well, does anyone else want to chat?
Specifically the 10. Oh, sorry. The 10% CPU boost was because they overclocked the CPU.
Does anyone else want to mention on the PS5 Pro before we switch on over?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm waiting for something else.
I myself would love to jump into PS5 Pro with a brand new Sony iZone screen. I think that would be the dopest way to game. Games are often optimized for the console first. You see it in Grand Theft Auto 6. It's coming to consoles first, and honestly, in my opinion, the best place to play it is going to be on a PS5 Pro. I look forward to it. Will it be a day one for me? Nope. I need a brand new screen. But until then, I will just watch from afar and hope that they're able to lock in that 60 FPS because I think that will be my main selling point. It's too bad they weren't able to do it with the first iteration, but I hope AI is able to update itself.
I don't think this fixes the Unreal 5 issue that's on the horizon. I don't think it fixes it for him.
It's here.
So, still.
It's here. Pow World makes my PlayStation make funny noises now.
CPU problem from not cleaning it.
It's perfectly clean, Doragon. It's a Pow World problem from being a monstrosity after so many hours.
That sounds like a skill issue.
PS5 Pro, let's go. Coming out now. For a pretty penny, you'll be dropping about a G note on it.